Good morning, Steve Zonard here with Remax West Zonard Associates. I got an amazing talking point. We're going to just go through the inventory quickly, and then we're going to jump into an amazing topic regarding housing affordability. Just reading our article this morning. Talking about inventory, we're at 16,754 units. We've stayed exactly the same as last week. 926 units did sell, so obviously ebb and flow market. We're doing well. We're going into November with strong sales. Even our office has picked up in buyer showings, which is good. We've actually experienced that in a few of my personal listings where we had from 0 showings to like 5 showings in 1 week, which is great. It's almost 1 per day. So that's on the right track for a sale of a property. Talking point. Housing affordability crisis ruins most Canadians' peace of mind. This was an article I read this morning, and I'll just read a few points of it. And it says 59% of respondents and 76% of renters, the housing affordability crisis has negatively affected their mental health at least once in the last 12 months. It reads on, 79% said that that this was the biggest source of stress at least once over the last 12 months, with 75% of homeowners and 86% of renters are in agreement with this. Furthermore, 78% of respondents as well as 90% of renters said that any newly elected federal government, which is actually election today, should prioritize addressing the long-running affordability problem. And I think that's great to say, but ultimately it's impossible because let's say the government comes in and does social housing where people can live in communities that's subsidized by the government. It's impossible, and that's already happening now with co-op units and stuff like that. So it's not like they're going to be able to bring down the affordability, because what that's going to do is affect people that have actually bought properties in the markets in all the markets in the last 20 years, let's call it. So it's just impossible to do that. And I think what they're saying here, even at the end of this article, is talking about people thinking of moving to other communities and towns, and that's the right approach. I mean, just get into real estate at some point, and obviously convenience is going to be on top of mind for everybody, but ultimately, you got to start somewhere. And I actually go racing on the weekends, and I met a couple there, and they've originally came from UK. Now they've actually moved out. They're in Canada, and they relocated from near where they work to about an hour north. But ultimately, they're in a full detached property with an amazing yard and a full detached property with a double car garage, which is awesome. So they had to make that jump, that leap, where it's like, do you stay in town and rent, or do we just move out of town and ultimately be able to afford our own property, which is awesome. And that's what they did. So they've in the property now about 4 or 5 years. The property's actually doubled in value. So now let's just say they have to move closer to the city. They can actually sell that property, use that equity, and put it into a property closer to your work. So it's just basically you're going to have to leverage at some point and get into the market. So I think that's the best way to do it, is to get into an area where that's obviously it's not the most convenient, but you're going to get into a beautiful community, affordable housing, and ultimately you're going to build equity with the appreciation of the property, the mortgage pay down, and ultimately you can sell that and move closer to where you need to be. And I'll give you an example. We're looking at statistics now because obviously investing these days is you have to do research. It's not like 2016 and 2017 when you can buy a mud puddle and make money. So ultimately we're looking at something like this, where it's like market statistics regarding rent and how much rented units are per unrented units and what their going rate is. So I'll give you an example just for Toronto, general Toronto. So this is like obviously very general because they go from Rexdale to Yorkville, so it's going to just average the prices. And we'll go from Q1 from 2016 to 17 to 18 to 19, all quarter one, and I'll give you an example of how appreciation is, or how rent is going up rather than down. So in 2016, a 1-bedroom condo in Toronto, first quarter, was leasing for $1,633. That's 3 years ago, right? 2017, that same unit, 1,758 units. As of 18, that same unit went to $1,961. Okay, so it's up 7% from 17 over 16 and 11% over 18 over 17. Obviously, because there's a big, huge jump, is obviously people were buying properties in 2017, and now they have to cover the mortgage, so they gotta up the rent. And then you look at 2019, a 1-bedroom was almost $2,100. So you kind of look at that, the affordability of even just to lease a property now is becoming unaffordable. So this is basically the Manhattanized effect that we're always been talking about, and this is what we're experiencing. So my advice to anybody is just get into the market at any time. You know, obviously look at the deal, make sure the deal's right, but make sure you're buying real estate, and don't suck. Don't be a suck and say that you know, this is creating stress. You can still buy a property, just not going to be too convenient to where you originally wanted to plan. You know, even myself, when I first got married, you know, everything we did was in Woodbridge. We moved out to Bolton. It was a 15-minute drive. It was, you know, but it was affordable, and you know, that's what we did. So from Bolton, then we moved to Nobleton. We used the money from, you know, the equity that we've earned with appreciation, the mortgage pay down. Then we moved into Nobleton, which is not a huge distance away, but it's closer to my office, which for me, it's you know, time is everything. So yeah, that's just a little bit of a rant, a little bit of advice, and that's pretty much it. Have an amazing day, guys. Ciao.